Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 134 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. This week we're going to start off with the shave of the day. The joys of driving down the road. Every now and then you just not run into something. You have an experience on the road that, you just have to talk about. I had the opportunity this last weekend, and it was a great opportunity. I got the opportunity to meet up with an old Navy buddy, a guy that I hadn't seen in a long, long time. Now, we've kept up with each other a little bit on Facebook and things like that, which, does go to just how powerful and how convenient Facebook is. But we had an opportunity to catch up, and it was good. He also had a few things that he brought with him when we actually caught up on old times. He brought a Rockwell 6S to show me, and so I tell you about my first hands-on with that particular razor. He asked me a question, and I'll give you my theory on what lather cushion really is. He also had the Phoenix Travel Brush, the Bullet, and it's currently out of stock, unfortunately, but I'll link to Phoenix anyhow over there so you can at least take a look at it and give you my impressions of that. I also shared with him my one of my Autostrops. I have a VC4, and it's out on loan right now, along with a couple of feather single-edge spineless blades, and tell you all about that. Walk into the Monday shave of the day. Couple of videos. Number one, the Art of Manliness has a how to shave with a straight razor video that I found that was pretty cool. And then I ran into something on Facebook. Apparently there's another new razor out there that somebody's trying to make. So I'll introduce you to that a little bit. And then I also found out that Mantic 59 put out a video on how to shave with the OneBlade razor. Apparently it's not intuitively obvious. No, I joke. It's got a pivot, and the pivot is not what traditional shavers are used to, but it's also sort of like a single-edge blade, which is not necessarily what cartridge blade users are used to, even if they're used to a pivot. So it's got some nuances there. He'll talk about it, and it's a pretty good video. So, and then finally, a twisted shave of the day. Yeah, sometimes I can get myself just wrapped up in knots. Which is appropriate this week because this week the razor that I'm using I bought off eBay a couple of weeks ago, and it is in fact a Gillette Twist. Slim Twist, as a matter of fact. Made in England. Good stuff. Anyhow, that's the show this week. Let's get on with this thing. Let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so Thursday's shave of the day, we're trying something a little bit different because, we had last week and my weeks don't run like normal people's weeks. Most people's weeks have a weekend, and then they start a new week. I don't. My weekend is in my middle of the week because, for me, my week starts on Thursday. Wednesday night is the culmination of my week. So Thursday, I always try to shake things up, do something a little bit different. And today's shave of the day, it's a new twist on things, a new twist on a common activity that I do every day. And that new twist is a new razor that I got off of eBay. And that razor is none other than the Gillette Slim Twist. I believe it's an M1 made in England. Beautiful, beautiful razor. Good condition. I mean, the chrome is still in great shape, or the plating is still in great shape. I don't know if it's chrome or if it's nickel, but anyhow, the plating is in great shape. It functions well. The handle's not all dinged up and messed up and scarred. I mean, just overall a great, great razor. Blue handle, nice stuff. So I've seen them with white handles. I've heard about them with green handles. This one has a blue handle. I believe, if my research is correct, it was made in 1967. And in fact, it even says made in England on it. And other than that, there are no markings. It says Gillette made in England, and that's it. Blue handle, slim twist. Yeah, good stuff. Anyhow, so today's shave of the day, went ahead and I got an old friend back. I'd given my son a shave kit, if you will, to piff off to a friend of his, a roommate of his. And between the time that I gave it to him and the time that my son was supposed to give it to him, my son's roommate apparently took a turn for the worse as far as attitude in my son's opinion, and he never did get around to giving it to him. Hey, those kind of things happen, but we tried, right? So anyhow, so the Italian boar brush came back to me. I also got back a container of the Deluxe Shaving Company's Barbershop Citrus. So went ahead and soaked up the brush and lathered up the citrus. Oh, beautiful, beautiful lather. Great smell. Really, really enjoyed it. Great performance. Holy cow. And just because I wanted to put everything in the best of light this morning, I went ahead and put in a Kai double-edged blade. And, a fantastic shave was had by me. Okay, so I'm driving behind a person right now that is going like 20 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. I don't know if they're texting or what. They're kind of swerving around a little bit. Yeah, okay, just a bit frustrating. Ugh. Pay attention to the road. Yeah, I say that while I'm talking and doing a segment for a podcast. But it's all hands-free, folks. Got the boom mic going. Everything is all hands-free. Anyhow, so back to the shave of the day. The Kai blade performed just fabulously. There was, it was the slim on first go was it's a very gentle razor, very nice. Kind of akin to a flare tip, maybe a little bit milder than a flare tip, or a super speed, but a very, very nice razor. With the Kai blade, it's almost ethereal in the feel that, yes, there is a razor on your face, but there doesn't really seem to be a blade in it, but yet it's, cutting nicely and doing a good job. And, pretty close to BBS. Just, a little bit, if I'd have touched up just a little bit more on the jawline there, I would have been in perfect shape. But, very, very nice shave, very close shave. Enjoyed every bit of it. Threw on a little fine aftershave, some clean or some fresh vetiver, and off to the races we go. And the great thing is both before and after ground up some home roasted coffee, so I'm enjoying a little bit of a Guatemalan medium roast, and so good thing there. And then to top it all off, looked at my calendar. And lo and behold, the only appointment that I have today is lunch. Great stuff. Yeah, that's the way to have a day. The only appointment I got is lunch. So that means that I can actually maybe get some stuff done. And boy, wouldn't that be nice. Get caught up. Well, maybe not caught up, but at least pick a few things off of the floor that have slid off the plate and make the office just a tad less slippery. All in all, a great start to a great day. All right, well, that kind of beats all. Had an old lady in a car, and, Okay, so driving down a road that is a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, doing 25, swerving all over the road. Obviously doesn't know where she's going. Driving, I don't know if she's ever been on this road. Driving down the road, I don't know if she's texting or what. You almost want to stop and get out and say, okay, are you okay? Do you need an ambulance? Are you lost? Have you never been here before? What can I help you with? Because driving on this road is obviously a challenge to you, and you're hurting yourself. Oh, I thought she was going to stop the car dead in the road when she passed the fire station. She passed the fire station at like 15 miles an hour. Now remember, we're in a 45 here. It's like, And then all of a sudden she just picked up speed and just took off. It's like 35, 40 miles an hour just up the road, zip, And then she stops again at like 15 miles an hour and then turns on her turn signal, and then instead of turning at the road where you would normally think if someone had put their turn signal on at that location, no, instead of doing that, she rolls slowly towards a street light that is green. And she rolls so slowly, she may have been pissed at me at that point because I'm back here kind of making hand signals going, what the hey, I can't help it. I grew up next to an Italian neighborhood. It's in the blood. Holy cow. And then she finally turns and I'm like, oh, thank God. Jeez. You got to ask yourself, are they sitting there texting? Are they lost? Are they having a heart attack? I mean, what is it? Pull over the side of the road, put on your blinkers, I'll help you out, but just, Oh, the joys of driving. You gotta love it. And then on the other hand, I think back at my time when I was living in San Diego, and you'd be driving down the six lane interstate and doing 90 miles an hour with basically a half a car length between every car. And I was driving in this little Toyota. I had a little Toyota at the time, and I had one of those mirrors that goes, those big long mirrors that goes all the way across the front of the windshield there so you can see, like, everything. There was no blind spot at all anywhere, and you needed that because as you were weaving in and out of traffic with, well, essentially inches to spare, it felt like. It was actually feet, but it sure felt like inches sometimes. That's what kept me out of trouble. Yeah, so this is a lot better, driving on a relatively solitary road here, secondary highway out in the middle of nowhere in upstate of South Carolina. Yeah, it's a lot better. So it could be worse, but it does just amaze me when you see people that are driving in such a way that is, well, quite honestly, just so erratic. You look at it and you go, really? What are you doing? And then, you think, okay, maybe it's a teenager or a young kid learning to drive or something like that, or, someone who's obviously having difficulties. And no, I call her an old lady. She's probably 65, 70 years old, That's not much older than I am. Okay, so I'm just being mean. Okay. Like I tell my kids. So tell me, what part of the Scout Law does that not uphold? Oh, goodness. Yeah, well. I don't tell them I'm perfect either. Oh, well. It's one of those things. It makes for an exciting day. It doesn't diminish the pleasure of the day any, but it does make for an exciting day. Start off like that. Get your blood pressure going. Maybe I've had too much of the good home-roasted Guatemalan. We'll see what the rest of the day has to bring. I'll let you know. Okay, so here we are in Charlotte, of all places. What the heck am I doing in Charlotte? Okay, well, I got a phone call. Well, actually, it wasn't a phone call. I got a text message the other day on Messenger, and one that I wasn't expecting. It was from an old buddy of mine from the Navy. And he said, hey, I'm going to be in Charlotte on Sunday. You're not too far down the road. You want to get together? I said, sure. You tell me what time. I'll be there. We'll meet up. It'll be a good thing. So I came up here to Charlotte, had dinner with a guy that I haven't seen in 30 years, something like that. Yeah, about 30 years. Well, turns out that not only is he an extraordinary Navy guy, an extraordinary Navy veteran, and on top of that, He's also a wet shaver. So, yeah, had a mini meetup, if you will, sat around, had some dinner, talked about, well, first off, caught up with 30 years. Holy cow. There's a lot of life that goes on in 30 years, I got to tell you. Okay, so now that we got the truck put back together, and things are where they're supposed to be. In other words, the antenna is where it is supposed to be on the truck. The phone here has Google Maps on it and is ready to go and headed in the correct direction. We'll get this show on the road. Get out of Charlotte. Just for the record, I do not like cities. I do not like cities anymore. And you know the worst part? I actually grew up in one. So, grew up in a city, don't like them. Just kind of the way it is. It's dark. It's stormy. Can't see much. Buildings all around. I don't like it. And apparently up here in North Carolina, Charlotte area, they don't like you turning right on red. Completely unusual. Not used to that. Have to stop myself. Maybe it's just some places. I don't know. Anyhow. So the meetup, yeah, there's a lot of life that occurs after 30 years. And so we spent a good part of the visit catching up on that. And then we moved into wet shaving. First off, he had a Rockwell. Yeah, so he had one of the Rockwells, I guess it's the 6S with the adjustable base plates, and got to play around with that a little bit. First off, love the heft of that razor. Holy cow, that's a good feel of the razor as far as the weight and everything. The machining on the it's interesting. It took me a moment or two, actually, or three, to realize that what they were doing was very similar to the adjustability in a Fat Boy or a Slim Gillette, where they are holding the blade up. They're pushing the blade up with the base plate and then throwing the top cap on top. You know, similar setup to the Gillette adjustables, where they raise and lower the blade inside the silo doors. And yeah, so that was kind of neat. It was kind of cool to come to that realization on how that they were machined and manufactured. The machining and all the way that they're put together, I really enjoyed that. It seemed to be very, very nice. You know, again, very hefty handle, very good feel to it all. So from that aspect, really, really good. But the thing that threw me a little bit is that I threw a blade in it and cinched down the handle and realized that the blade was not aligned correctly to the base plate. At which point it was like, okay, what's going on here? Now, there is some adjustability of the blade itself around the pins. So, okay, that's more or less understood. I can, you know, get my head around that. Very typical to what you see in a lot of other three-piece razors. However, the other thing that was at issue, if you will, was the fact that the base plate and top cap themselves, there is a little bit of play between the pins that align those two pieces. And so when you throw it all together, you have the play between the top cap and the base plate, and then you have the play of the blade around the pins. So two variables in that adjustability. And so it took a little bit more playing with than I had kind of imagined, I guess, to get the blade orientation and blade set up correctly. Now, once you cinched it down, yeah, it's a very solid razor. It's not a problem at all. Now, I didn't get an opportunity to shave with it, but my buddy, Lyles, said that he would provide me at some point a review of the Rockwell 6S razor as far as how it shaves. I'll wait for that to share it with you guys. But overall, very good-looking razor. It was, like I said, just a little bit of an adjustability issue as far as I could see that they could get a person in trouble. Now, of course, the other thing, I'm sitting there, and the worst part is that I noticed this today. And so I'm sitting there going, well, if you adjust this thing to be a certain angle or whatever, or a certain distance from the guard on one side, and it's different on the other side, the only time that you would potentially notice that is when you flip the razor. And then I got to thinking about it, because I was thinking about it this morning when I was using my slim twist, is that how often do I actually flip my razor while shaving? Or is it one of these things where I end up shaving predominantly on one side of the razor and don't even realize it, and thereby shorten the life of what I'm using and what I'm feeling? Is it just, because I'm not doing it routinely, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just, if it happens by happenstance, by sheer dumb luck. And so the question is, oh gosh, if I had a Rockwell and adjusted the blade gap, or the blade distance from the safety bar, would I in fact even notice it? Or would I only notice it on that off chance that I flip the blade from time to time and realize that all of a sudden it's either cutting a little bit more aggressively or just a touch less, because I have just a little bit more blade, not gap, but actual blade exposure. Curious concept. Anyhow, I will be looking forward to, and hopefully you will be looking forward to, a report by Lyles on his experience with the Rockwell 6S. Another interesting question that was asked, and I'd never had it asked really quite like this, it's like, oh, okay, so what is cushion? What is soap cushioning? I understand glide. Glide I don't have any problem with, but what is cushioning? And the only thing that I could think of is that in my head, what blade cushioning is the ability of the soap to almost act, well, for lack of a better word, and Lyles is the one that came up with this, to act as almost an oil and create a hydraulic wedge in between the razor itself and your skin to provide kind of a barrier, if you will, against the cutting tendencies of the blade and your skin. Because if left unchecked, at least for me, and this is where it got kind of, I don't know, off into left field as far as my experience goes, because for me, if I don't have that cushion, that blade will cut, and it will cut skin, and I will bleed. And Lyles looked at me and said, well, wait a minute, I can shave with just water and be fine. Whoa, what? I can't do that. So that is completely outside of my experience, and I told him so. And it's like, I can't do that. And so the only thing that I can then attribute good or proper blade cushion with is it acts as a barrier against the preponderance of razor burn. If you have good blade cushioning, you have less razor burn. If you have more cushioning, you have less razor burn. Now, of course, there is also the variable of the razor itself, as well as how much pressure you're using, but the cushion is a factor in that equation, as to how much potential razor burn, irritation, skin scraping, and cutting you will actually feel. You know, if you consider that you have a wedge, if you will, of soap kind of driving in between the blade and your skin, providing a layer, almost like a layer of oil. And so in that regard, as Lyles said, the shaving cream, the lather, acts almost like oil on a bearing in a car engine. You know, it just provides that very light layer of lubrication that allows your metal and metal on metal components to spin at fairly high rates of speed without destroying themselves. So, yeah, that in my head is how I would describe cushion. Now, if you don't have cushion, then in fact you do end up with that blade straight on skin, as in, you know, water shaving, if you will, just pure water shaving, which I cannot do. And it may be attributable to my oily skin and the blade actually catches and whatever, but I can't do that. And so for me, I have to have a little bit of cushion there. Now, of course, the glide kind of speaks for itself. It's how easily the blade and razor assembly, you know, slides down your face or in any direction that you push it, if you will, or pull it, as it were. And so that was part of the discussion. It was an interesting discussion, but that's my best explanation, at least in my head, on how I envision the cushion of lather. So another thing that Lyle had that was really cool, and I was very glad that I got to actually see it and put my hands on it, was the Phoenix Travel Brush. Now, the Phoenix Travel Brush is it looks like a plisson's type, or almost plisson size, tulip-shaped or bulb-shaped synthetic knot in a metallic handle. Now, it stores in the metallic handle with an end cap with a hole in it to provide a little bit of air so that it can dry off. But the handle itself is basically a what looks like a tube, a steel tube, with a cap on it, and then the knot is a synthetic knot that it is in a knurled piece that can then thread back into the container tube. Now, the knot itself, plisson knot, great knot, synthetic, yeah, good stuff, no problems there. The thing that threw me, though, and the thing that really, really surprised me, and in fact, Lyle mentioned it as well, was the weight of the tube, and that when you assemble the whole thing so that you've got this brush on this long handle, the tube is heavy. The tube is really heavy. In fact, the tube is as heavy as the handle and top cap of the Rockwell, which is no slouch. And, it almost comes, when you put it all together, it's like, it'd almost be easier just to use the brush itself with just the little knurled handle and just not use the storage tube at all. And I had to wonder, why would you not make the tube, the storage tube, out of a plastic or out of an aluminum? Would have been a whole lot lighter. I'm afraid that if you put it in a DOP kit all, put together in storage mode there, that it would bounce around, and if it happened to bounce into a razor, it would ding it up. I mean, you could hurt somebody with that thing. It'd be a good weapon. I mean, you could take it on a flight and say, yeah, this is just my shaving brush, and use it for a bludgeon. I mean, I doubt anybody. No, really, it's just a shaving brush. Yeah. And if you took the little part of the cap that has the hole in it, if you put some paracord and a knot through that thing, you could swing that sucker around, and yeah, you'd have a nice flail or a mace or something like that. Yeah, you could tear somebody up with that sucker. I mean, it's weighty. Huh. Maybe we need to keep that design. Put some knurling on the outside. Make it really fun. Anyhow, it was a good opportunity to get my hands on something that, well, I'd been curious about and hadn't seen previously. So, yeah, good stuff. Now, the other thing that I had an opportunity to do was share with Lyles an Autostrop. And so the one I took him, I gave him an Autostrop and a couple of blades, 3 blades, put one in it, showed him how it loaded up. And I gave him or loaned him, I told him to keep it for about a month or so. But I loaned him my VC4, my Autostrop VC4. Which, out of all of them, was my least favorite, and mainly because I can't get under my nose quite as well. However, not a problem for him because, well, he sports a handlebar mustache. And so he does not have the same issues or problems with getting under the nose and having something that the blade is a little bit closer to the safety bar or comb. So for him, I think it will do just fine. Now, I'd be quite happy if he kept it for a year. I'd be quite happy if he kept it and didn't return it, as long as he got good use out of it. You know, that's the main thing. So we talked about blades a little bit. You know, the difference in blades for the Autostrop, whether, you know, go with the stainless ones, the ones that are the same as in the OneBlade. And he's kind of on the same page as I am in that for him, the cost, you know, if you can afford a $200 razor, great, go for it. But me and him both, we're kind of into vintage stuff. And, you know, being able to pick up a razor for, you know, 10 to 30 bucks. Yeah, that's, we're picking up tools, not shelf queens. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've got a $200 razor and you're using it on a daily basis, more power to you. I hope it's a good one. I really do. And I hope you're getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. I just happen to get a lot of enjoyment out of my razors that are used, you know, back in someone's hands who wants to use them, and they're drivers. They're not shelf queens. They're not part of a collection. They're not used once and put up. No, I use mine quite a bit. I rotate them around a good bit, throw them in a box, and come back to them later and try them again. Just yeah. And he's got a good number of razors as well, and so it's quite interesting, just kind of sharing stories and things like that. He's got a Gillette long comb new. I've got a short comb new, and I need to get a long comb. I don't have a long comb. I need to find one and see what the differences are between them. Now, I really, really like my short comb. That's a fun razor. And again, it's one of those things where you sit back and you go, okay, I'm shaving with a razor that is, you know, 70 to 100 years old. Holy cow. And it still works fabulously. Really does. You know, it just makes you wonder. It's just, you know, why do we need multi-bladed cartridge razors? What is it really bringing to us that's any better? Yeah. Oh, well. Just one of those things, you know, when a couple of wet shavers get together and start talking about the ins and outs of wet shaving. It's fun to do. It's fun to do. Anyhow, there you go. So let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so the shave of the day. Again, I'm using my Gillette Twist with the Kai blade, but this time with a new twist. So after my conversation with Lyles the other day, I went ahead this morning and on one edge of the Kai blade, I took a Sharpie and, well, made a mark just to see. And I'm still wondering at this point, even after, trying to be as normal as possible, I'm still wondering if I, in fact, don't flip my razor around in my normal movements and, in fact, put it and set it down in such a way and pick it back up in such a way so that every time I do that, I'm using the same edge. Oh, goodness. Wow. That has just twisted my brain into about 50 different locations that were never intended to be seen by the light of day. Yeah. So, I'm, it's got me thinking big time. So, anyhow, I used some Cat A soap, some unscented Cat A soap, and threw on some Pinot Special Reserve, not the Clubman, but the Special Reserve. I bought a small bottle of that stuff a while back. Now, it's interesting. I can go through a bottle of Clubman and not think much of it. It's going to take me forever to get through that bottle of Special Reserve because I just don't. I mean, it's okay, but it's not a classic scent. It's not, at least to me, it's just not. It's not something that enthralls. How about that? And so there you go. But good shave was had. For the most part, BBS. Although again, it's one of those things where that Kai blade, I'll probably change it out tomorrow. Works well. It's smooth. It doesn't have any issues or problems. But again, I'm starting to wonder if it's because I'm not, flipping the blade. When I say flipping the blade, it's okay. A double-edged blade has two edges. Now, how do you ensure that you are evenly using or utilizing both cutting edges that are on that one blade? With a single edge, it's easy. You just got the one edge, no big deal, no muss, no fuss. You can't really screw it up. But a double-edged, okay, is it really the case that your blade is wore out, or have you just been consistently using one edge on the darn thing? And if that's the case, are you getting less life out of that one edge than what you should normally experience? It's just a curiosity, really. It's one of those things where you kind of go, really? Like I said, it's got my brain wrapped in knots. Yeah. Oh, well. A good shave was had by all, and luckily woke up early enough to help get one of the vehicles out. It's been raining something terrible here the last couple of days. Well, I say something terrible. It's been raining a lot. And when it rains that much, the ground where this vehicle sits tends to get just a little soggy. And got to be careful pulling it out. Otherwise, you run into a situation where you get stuck, or at least tear up the where it's sitting. Yeah, tear up the ground where it's sitting. So we got that vehicle out, and we'll park it on the pavement while everything dries out here. And yeah. So all in all, not a bad start to a day. How to shave with a straight razor. I ran across the Art of Manliness YouTube channel, and one of the things on there was how to shave with a straight razor. And I thought this was just an absolute funny YouTube video. I mean, it's instructive, but it's also humorous. So, great way to learn a little bit about shaving with a straight razor, some of the do's and don'ts. How to shave like your great grandpa, an art of shaving, jeez, the Art of Manliness instructional film. Yeah, I get all these art of this, art of that. Oh goodness. Anyhow, the Art of Manliness has the instructional film, How to Shave with a Straight Razor, and I don't know about you, but I'm just going to throw a link to it in the show notes because, well, I found it just, well, pretty funny and pretty good too. So I ran into something on Facebook. It's from the Executive Shaving Company. And as far as I can tell, just tracing around a little bit, the Executive Shaving Company is a vendor, well, over in the UK. And it appears that what they are attempting to make is they are attempting to make a razor, a single-edged razor that either uses a feathered professional blade or, in fact, an injector blade, which would really be cool. In fact, it's kind of looking like something that might be akin to a mongoose or a cobra, but they're doing it a little bit in an unusual fashion. I guess I've never gotten my hands on a mongoose or a cobra or anything, so I don't exactly know quite how they go together. But this one, and I'll just throw the picture up here, it appears to be a 3-piece razor, and they're essentially using. And it might get a little finicky when you put the blade in it, but, most of us wet shavers, we can handle that. We're not afraid of, things that are sharp. I mean, we play with sharp stuff all the time, whether that be blades, straight razors, whatever. We should be able to handle this without getting too freaked out. Anyhow, they've got a picture of a 3D plastic model, and then they're looking, from what I understand, to create this thing out of stainless steel with a turned stainless handle. And so I thought it was neat because, again, it just goes to show that there is a lot of stuff that is going on in the wet shaving community. There are a lot of people that are making razors, and I mean, with the success of the Rockwell and the Rockwell Model T over there on Kickstarter right now, the vintage razor craze, the new double-edged razor craze, the work that's been done with the cobra and the mongoose and the huge following that those razors have. There is a lot of activity that is going on out there. Slowly but surely, people are coming to the idea, I guess, that wet shaving is, a good thing. It is not only fun, but it is also something that does a very good job. And quite honestly, there's a little bit of a richness, a class, a savoir-faire to the whole experience, and that if you can walk out the door after having given yourself a decent shave with something other than the can of goo and the cartridge razor, you just, people are starting to realize that, maybe there's something to that guy. And so it's good to see. I thought I'd share it because, it's one of those things that, when you see it, you go, yeah, that's pretty cool. Mantic59 out there has a new video up. It's called How to Shave with the OneBlade Razor. Apparently, the OneBlade razor that is the stainless steel masterpiece with the pivoting head using the feathers or the feather stainless single-edged blades. Apparently, it is not quite as straightforward as just a regular single-edged razor, nor is it as straightforward as a cartridge razor with a pivot. So Mantic decided to put out a video on the thing, which is very much appreciated, I'm sure, and talk a little bit about the razor. Now, when you watch this video, and I'll go ahead and link to it, but when you watch the video, you got to get through the first bit, probably about a third of it, on shaving prep and basically just how to shave. Okay, so for the new guys, it might be some very, very useful information. And after watching the video, I was sitting there nodding my head, going, "Yep, he's absolutely right. That's what you need to do." And yeah, that works. So if you've got yourself a one razor, and if you happen to be or new to wet shaving in general, there's a lot of good tips in there. But it was interesting that the OneBlade the OneBlade razor apparently isn't quite as obvious, if you will, as what some of us might be used to with injectors and single edge and all these other razors that do not have a pivot in it. And so there you go. I thought it was interesting. I'll go ahead and link to it, and that way you can take a look at it too. So cloudy day. It's been raining. Holy cow, it's been raining. All weekend long, it just rained. And then rained some more, and then rained some more. And last night, well, it did it again. The good news is that I happen to have a pool and took the cover off the other day. And, of course, whenever you take the cover off a pool, you have to vacuum it out. Well, the rain had made sure that pool was full. And so vacuuming out, I had plenty of water in the pool in which to vacuum out. Of course, then once I got the initial stuff off of the bottom of the pool, then you throw in some chemicals, and lo and behold, everything settles out to the bottom and needs to be vacuumed out the next day. Luckily, it rained that night, so I didn't have to add any water because it was already in there. And then, lo and behold, that cycle continues. I need to tell Mother Nature that I'm done vacuuming the pool for right now, and she can stop. Anyhow, shave of the day today. Okay, so, yeah. The other day, when I was talking, I got my head wrapped up and kind of twisted around the fact that a double-edged blade, I don't routinely, consciously flip my hold on the razor, and so there is a very good possibility that I am essentially using the one side of a double-edged blade exclusively. And there is a possibility that I'm doing that, because it seems that after a couple of days of playing around with it, the way that I shave and put my razor down and pick it up again, I continually use the same edge. And so if I happen in the morning to pick it up and start with edge A, I will continue with edge A. And depending on how I put the razor up in the rack, edge A will be used again, and again, and again, and again. And the blade wears out, and lo and behold, I haven't used edge B. Yeah, it's an amazing thing every now and then. I go, what? Oh, God, now there's another variable. Ah! Anyhow, today I used the edge that I didn't use yesterday. And lo and behold, it was a pretty good shave, which again leads me to wonder, had I been continuously using edge A and this is really edge B that I've finally gotten around to using? I don't know. Holy cow. So now I got to experiment with that at some point, just to play around with it. But it does raise that interesting question, if you think about it. Do you flip in your hand your razor and use the swap it around to edge, blade edge here, blade edge there, because it is, double-sided. That's why they call it a double-edged. And again, it's like, maybe that's why I like single edge. Anyhow, today I want to use my Cat A unscented soap. I bloomed it first, which in an unscented soap, you're probably thinking, okay, what are you blooming? Well, essentially what I'm doing is softening up the soap so that the load will be much better. Used a Samog bore brush and the Italian version, and went ahead and lathered up and shaved and had a pretty good shave. Didn't throw any aftershave on, and but all in all, not too bad. Typical areas that have issues have issues. So I didn't have a lot of time. So there you go. But anyhow, it was a curiosity that I'm sitting there watching, because now I put a red mark on one edge of the blade, and so I'm sitting there every time I shave, and I'll look at the razor, and then I'll put it down, and I'll pick it back up, and I'll shave, and I'll look at the razor, and I'm always on that same edge. Jeez, talk about putting a new twist in things, and of course I'm doing this all in the Gillette twist, so it's completely appropriate. Oh, gee whiz. Anyhow, that's the shave of the day today. Something to get you to think about different things this morning. Hopefully you won't get your brain in a twist like I've done mine.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade brushnsoapnblade@gmail.com, or give me a call at 864-372-6234, or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.